Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third-party upgrade kit video thing. Don't really want to call it a review because I'm weird. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at the X2 Toys XT009 kit specifically for Legends Ultra Magnus, because that's the Ultra Magnus that I own because I didn't really like the colors on Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. So, he's in a weird pose because what I've actually done is I've got half of him upgraded and the other half not, so that you can kind of directly see the differences here. So, let's start at the feet. You can see that, default Magnus doesn't look bad. Looks it looks fine. But then the X2 upgrade kit adds a much fancier. Here, let me straighten him out a little bit. Had him at an angle because he's actually taller with the upgrade on. The there, side by side, you can see the upgrade adds a much more detailed Shin. I mean, the default Shin here looks good. It looks much better than Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus has, but this one has so much more detail and just some really nice colors, actually. Like just the nice little color contrast here with the orange and the blue, and all these little nice details that go down here. And of course, he's got this big chunky foot with boosters on the bottom, and it's posable. It's on a ball joint. It's got all these wonderful movement options. So this is really nice. Whereas this foot is just, it does that. Now, this is actually an upgrade piece. It goes inside his feet, and it just kind of gives him a little bit more detail because they're going to stay tucked up in his leg for the rest of the time that he exists. I didn't really want to try prying this out after putting it in, so it's still in there. So the default foot is much more hollow. So, yeah, and then you can see on the upgraded leg here, back here, there's the original foot. And the idea is that you can open up the legs and it creates like a rocket booster kind of effect. And you can see just how hollow that is back there. Now, one unfortunate thing with this is when there's no foot back here, you can close this panel up and it locks in place and covers that up. Everything looks good. This one, with the foot in place here, when you rotate it around, it will not close all the way. Like, you can kind of force it, but it's not going to stay pegged, and also it's going to kind of flex this around a bit, and I don't really like that. So you just kind of have to leave it sitting partially open. It's not terrible. Like, honestly, it doesn't look much different, but it just kind of bugs me a little bit. So, to swap all of this out, I'm just going to open that up, push his leg back in there, and close that up. And now we have to get rid of his shin. So we just pop this off. Pop this off. There we go. I thought there was desk there. There was not desk there. Okay. So now we've got the other shin. And when you're installing these, put them down, it's difficult to reach around all this stuff. When you're installing these, you can tell what side the shin belongs to by this longer peg. So this will actually go in here, because you can see like there's this little channel on this side here. So you just want to match the longer peg with whatever side has that channel. So pop this just because it's a little bit easier. Peg this, or clip this on, and there we go. And then attaching it just for regular transformation, there's this tab here that goes in here, and then there's also this little tab here that goes in there. So once you get that in, it holds very securely. Clip that in, and now he's got two beefy legs. Two awesomely beefy legs. Now, moving on to the thighs, these I also already put in and cannot actually remove. The original figure has these pretty prominent gaps in the thighs, and the upgrade kit comes with pieces designed specifically to fill in those gaps. And yeah, they do. I have to say, I mean, I don't really view my characters from the back, but I do like how that filled in the gaps. It makes them look a lot less hollow. Now moving on to the arms. Here we've got the default arm, which is fine. You know, it's got that posability. And then he's got his hand that opens and closes. And then there's the upgrade kit arm that has the same basic posability in like the forearm, or not forearm, the bicep. Now, I will say though, at least on mine, I don't know if this is something that everyone's going to have, but the swivel on this arm is quite loose. The swivel on the upgrade is actually a lot tighter. Like, not so tight that it's concerning, but it's pleasantly tight. It, you know, like I can do this and it's not gonna bump out of place. Whereas with this one, if I nudge it, it's gonna turn. So that's cool. The other nice thing with the upgrade hands, if you notice, the forearm is actually blue instead of white, which not a huge difference, I think, either way, but it is kind of nice how this blends in with this panel, like this big forearm covering, whereas this one kind of stands out a little bit. And this one, you've got these large gaps. This one also has the same large gaps. So it is what it is. But these hands are really kind of the stars of the of that part of the upgrade kit, because he's actually got two... Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. He's actually got two fingers on individual pins, or not individual pins, but like two individually moving fingers, and then these last two move on their own, which is nice. And he actually can rotate his hand, and there's even a little bit of a back movement on the wrist there, which is awesome. And it's difficult to tell because of this chunky panel that gets in the way, but there's also a little bit of painted detail on the back of his hand, which is really, really nice. It looks good. Now, before I move on to the accessories, we're going to talk about the head. So, Magnus's head, this is the upgraded head because, again, didn't want to switch it all out. But here you can see the original, well, the original face. Not a whole lot different. The overall look is the same. The paint on the inside of the crest there is a little bit darker, but for the most part, it's exactly the same, except for one key difference. This head comes with multiple faces. So here we've got the meh and stoic looking Ultra Magnus. Here we have the slightly screamy Magnus. And then he also has one, keep that focus. He also has a battle mask. And it's funny because I had no interest in using the battle mask when I was looking at the kit. I just figured I'd use the default face. But I actually think it looks really, really good, like in person. In the photos, it didn't really do much for me, but in person, it looks great. And to swap them out, all you got to do is, I just lift the head up because it gives me a better angle, but you just have to wiggle out the, come on. There. Yeah. I'm going to use this. This tiny little screwdriver actually comes with the kit, and you need it to unscrew his head. So bravo to X2 Toys for including the piece of hardware that we need to perform the swap without, forcing us to basically rely on having our own super tiny screwdriver. So there's the faceless head. As you can see, there's just like a little slot thing in there, and there's like a tab on the inside of the face. So you just line it up and smoosh it in, and that's it. And this is how I have my Magnus display because that looks freaking awesome. That was my big issue with the default face and the replacement faces, and something I'm not entirely sure I mentioned in the original video I did for this guy, but I don't like how the light metallic blue for his eyes is so hard to distinguish from his face. Like there needs to be more contrast between the eyes and the face paint because it kind of blends together so you can't really see his eyes. Whereas with this, he's got these super angry red eyes, so they stand out pretty darn well. So yeah, it's the head. Now, oh, I forgot to change out the arm, sorry. So let's do that real quick. I like to push the arm down a little bit because it just gives me an easier way to access this. Now there's a mushroom peg right in here, so you just slide that down, that pops right off. And now this big panel here needs to come off, so this just pops right off as well. And this can just go somewhere else. It can go in the garbage for all I care. And probably not go in the garbage, but then we clip this back on, which is a tighter fit than on the original forearm, but that's fine. And then it just accordions in. And oh, yes. It's another thing worth mentioning. The way this fits onto the new forearm, it's a little bit tighter. So when you first get it, it'll just kind of stop here naturally. That's not as far as it goes. You need to actually push it a little bit more, and it'll close in and fill in that, like, kind of give him properly proportioned forearms. And then this just mushroom pegs back in here. Back in here. There we go. Okay. Ta-da. And now he's got two much better arms. Last little bit of change here before I get into the accessories is the back piece here. This doesn't really attach super solidly. And yeah. So here, this is where the little red piece you may recognize from other Ultra Magnuses goes. I got it here with the screw because I don't want to lose any of the pieces. That is what keeps the cab in place. And that needs to come out because of all the stuff that's inside this panel here. Like, for example, the hard to pull out rocket boosters that give him like a little jetpack thing that kind of goes with the jetpack stuff in his cabs. And then there's this panel, which is where you can actually store the extra faces. So these just tab in pretty much exactly like they would on the... Nope. Can't quite get it lined up. There we go. They tab in just like they would on the face. On the regular head, I mean. So line that up and smoosh it in. And that's that. And then it just closes up, and you never have to think about those faces again if you don't want to. And this one you don't have to push from the inside. It actually does come down pretty easily, even for someone like me who has practically no fingernails. I think his chin is butting up against... It's fine. All right, so smush that in. Now this won't come out on its own, really, but it's not that difficult to pull back out. It is what it is. So that is it for the basics. Now for his accessories. As you may recall, he comes with these things. These guns, which are okay, but kind of meh. And then you can combine them to make a hammer. But when you... Come here. Come on. I'm trying to illustrate a point. Like, you can... I do like that you can make the hammer, which is really, really cool, because like pretty much everyone else, I just feel like Ultra Magnus is synonymous with hammers at this point. So you can make your hammer, everything's cool, and he can hold it with the regular arms, and you gotta slot it in just like that. And he holds it. He actually holds it better with these hands than with the other ones because the fingers are much tighter. But that's kind of a lame hammer. Well, kind of nothing. That's an incredibly lame hammer. So, get that out of the way. Pop these off again. And keep them nearby. So, forget these. Those two guns are dumb. This is an Ultra Magnus gun. And this will just go in his hand. And now this was very clever what they did. They have this little, bring this closer, they have this little slot in his palm there. And the gun has this little tab just past the handle there. So if you line it up, you can push that in, and it helps him keep a much firmer grip on the gun. And so that is awesome. But it gets awesomer. Because, again, Ultra Magnus, synonymous with hammers. So this gun, you can fold the handle back and pull out the barrel. Then, grab these, can attach the shoulder pieces to the ends of the rifle there. And now you've got a very, very chunky hammer. And this behaves pretty much the same as the other one. It slots through this little gap here. But, like the gun, it has this tab. Or I should say like the gun's handle. So you can push that into his palm. Oh, sorry, wasn't doing that on camera. So you can push that into his palm, wrap his fingers around it, and that creates a pretty secure grip. And that's a proper hammer. That is a proper Magnus hammer. That is just fantastic. Okay, so that's enough looking at the robot mode. I know a lot of people are probably curious about vehicle mode because they don't really cover that in the promo shots. So we get him transformed and go over that right now. And here we have Ultra Magnus after his upgrade in his vehicle mode. Yeah, no, obviously not, but this is one of my other problems with this set, which I'll cover in a minute. So here's the rest of Magnus in his vehicle mode, and to attach this little bit, we've got the little hitch thing here that just sets right into the, oh, can't line it up, can't see, there we go, just kind of sits in his little hitch thingy there. This out of the way. And, you know, he still does his thing. But this is what kind of bugs me about this upgrade. Because you have to remove that piece that attaches the cab to the rest of the body, this does not really work for me. Like, you have to, if you lift this up, it does not bring this with it. And it's just kind of a pain in the butt. I should really see if I could just reattach it and like still keep this panel on the bottom here, because the directions didn't say anything about reattaching it, so I figured there's just not enough room, but I might check anyway, because this bugs me, because you can pull him forward, but if you try and push him back, he just sticks back in there, and it's annoying. So, not really a fan of that, but then again, I keep him displayed in robot mode anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Now, this is what I think a lot of people are going to be curious about. What do you do with this stuff? So, we get little baby cab out of the way here. Now, these, his giant new booties, they, when you're taking them from robot mode, these little bits here will actually clip together, but you have to pop them out so that you can actually get the clearance you need to move things around. So, for the trailer, there are a couple of ways of doing it. One way is to fold these up inside the trailer, which I think looks absolutely terrible. So I'm just going to fold that up and out of the way for now. And then there's no like definitive way to do this. It's just kind of fold things up and around and get them to sit how you want them to, and then these clip in as normal. So, and these also, these little bits here will actually hinge all the way around to give you the reach you need to get everything in there. So swing this around and pick that in, and that's one way of doing it. And we can just bring this back down and bring this back down, bring this back. Okay. Second problem with his vehicle mode in this upgrade kit, these shins are too big on the inside here, so the insides of these panels that cover his forearms actually keep banging up against them, which makes it very difficult to get everything put back together properly in vehicle mode. Because you can kind of see how it's in, like these are tabbed in where they should be now, but these are all kind of offset. Look like crooked teeth. So, not really a fan of that. But anyway, that is one way to do the trailer, and I do not like that one little bit. But just for the sake of it, bring back Baby Magnus and attach him so you can see, kind of get the full picture here. I mean, it's not the worst, but I do not like how there's all that junk on the inside there. The other option, bye Baby Magnus. The other option is, lift that up again, is to have these bits swung around to the outside, which I actually think looks a lot better. So we'll swing these around and out again. Okay. Now what you can do is, because these can hinge, you can actually, like there's an extra hinge right underneath this panel here. So you can actually bring the foot down just a little bit more, which will actually help a lot with lining these up, because you can tuck the foot underneath here, and when you tab that in place, you can just kind of swing it down, and that creates a little bit more, like it gives them a little bit of a large truck back end, but I think it actually looks a lot better. So we'll hinge this in, fold that up, fold that back, and tab that in, and fold that down, and then we try and make sure that those are at least somewhat lined up. So we fold this back, and still have the same issues with these bits not lining up properly at all. And here it looks okay, but there's pushing against those shins, which I do not care for. But anyway, that looks so much better to me. That looks so much better. Bring back Magnus, or I should say Magnus's face. I don't know how that happened. So yeah, that looks so much better. The inside isn't full of junk, and honestly, this just kind of, it blends in with the bulk of the back that's already there to me. So it looks so much better. And yeah, that's how you can deal with this nonsense. I actually think it does work. I think it works pretty darn well. As for my final thoughts on the X2 upgrade kit for Legends Ultra Magnus, yes. My final thoughts are yes. It's okay. I said in the video I did for just the basic Legends Ultra Magnus that it was enough to have me basically not feel the need to get the Masterpiece Ultra Magnus, and it goes double with this upgrade kit. I mean, I know Masterpiece Ultra Magnus is a more intricate figure. He's bigger. He's technically, objectively nicer, but I love the style of this guy. I love the added detail that you get with the shins here and the added posability with the legs, with the hands, the new face options. This freaking hammer. This hammer is so cool. And it's fantastic. I'm super, super happy with this upgrade kit. A little annoyed with how some of the, some of it just kind of gets in the way of the vehicle mode, especially the fact that the cab doesn't really attach to the trailer, but maybe it can actually fit back in there. I don't know. I'm thinking probably not, because there's absolutely no reason to take this off, like to take that out from there in order to install this. And looking at this now, I'm seeing that like if that goes in that channel there, yeah, this all this stuff looks like it would not leave enough clearance for the for that. Which means, I don't know, maybe I can like come up with something to keep it attached. I want it to stay attached because it's just better in vehicle mode. Anyway, he looks fantastic. He poses fantastic. His new rifle gun thing is rifle hammer thing is just fantastic. It's fantastic. And if you have a Legends Ultra Magnus, if you've been on the fence about getting this upgrade kit, I think you should do it because it is just fantastic. Again, I keep saying that. I'm sorry. But really, the only major gripe that I have is the fact that the cab doesn't attach to the trailer. And that just makes it kind of a pain in the butt to do stuff with him in vehicle mode. But, I mean, look at this. It's a sacrifice I'm more than happy to make because of just how awesome this is. So anyway, that has been my look at the X2 Toys X00... How many zeros? 2 zeros. XT009 kit for Legends Ultra Magnus. Oh, this thing is cool. Anyway, as per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And, well, I'll catch you next time.